Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Menino. Welcome to Driven Unscripted Success podcast. Today on the podcast, we're interviewing professionals who share their experience and tips with you, the audience, and how they got to where they're at today. And zooming from the beautiful islands of Bonita Springs, Kristine Bonham.
Bonham.
I always pronounce that wrong. I apologize profusely.
Like the Led Zeppelin drummer, John Bonham.
John Bonham. Oh, there you go. Were you related?
No, this is my married name.
Oh, gotcha. Awesome. This one girl said my slave name, and I started. I almost passed out.
We're not at that point yet. We've been married 4 years, so we're still in the newlywed stage.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. You've been a golf professional at Heritage Palms for the last 13 years, huh?
I've been a golf professional for the last 13 years here at Heritage Palms, actually in my first year with them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, just tell everybody, where you're at and how you got to where you're at today.
Sure. So again, I'm Kristine Bonham, PGA teaching professional. So we are the masterminds, if you're in golf, the ones kind of behind the scenes, not the one on TV playing for millions of dollars, but the one out there on the range, teaching you the right grip, posture, stance, all that fun stuff. And my primary focus in my role, director of instruction, is just that, teaching and coaching, bringing more people into the game, getting you to play better, enjoy it. So that can range anything from doing private lessons to clinics to club fittings, actually doing playing lessons, so taking you on the golf course. So really try to catch it from every angle. Prior to being a director of instruction, which is kind of like the ultimate title, if you will, when you are on the teaching route, there's a lot of different facets to the industry. So I kind of came up, starting with being an assistant pro. So where you're in the pro shop a lot, answering the phones, running the tournaments, doing some merchandising. So got a well-rounded background, became a head pro for a couple years as well. So running my own operation with the staff. And I'm sure we'll get into it more as we chat, but there was a kind of a turning point, if you will, where I decided that teaching was the route that I needed to go on and just follow that passion. So it's been really fun.
Great segue. What was the teaching moment that you
had? So back in 2020, when I was a head pro, the club that I was at used COVID as an excuse to furlough me. So we'll just call that what it is. So kind of that was where I had to rebuild my career. Definitely thought at that point of getting out of golf, which I'm really glad I didn't, because it's pretty hard to become a PGA pro. There's only, I think, 28,000 of us in the country. So there's
a lot of golf for 28,000. There's probably, I would venture to guess there's more golf courses in the United States in it. So not every golf course has a pro.
Right.
A PGA pro yet.
Yeah, so it takes a while to, get these initials PGA after your name. So I'm glad I didn't let that knock me out. So that was just kind of the rebuild there. So, got laid off during COVID, which wasn't a good time because a lot of clubs were coming out of season. We're very seasonal here in Florida, where many snowbirds go home around April or May timeframe and go back north. That was about when this happened at the end of April. So for us, that's end of season. So with kind of the uncertainty of COVID and end of season, not a lot of hiring going on. So I kind of felt very stuck. Was very unsure of the future, but luckily we kind of a interesting story as well. My husband, well, my fiance at the time, my now husband, we had just signed a purchase agreement on a new home, and
worst possible time, right? To get laid off.
So talk about highs, right? I'm up here. I'm like, oh, sweet, we're building a new house. That was on a head pro salary, so that was exciting. And then it was the very next day that the GM at the club sat me down and told me that news.
Oof.
Now we could have gotten out of it. I think you'd lose a little bit of money, who knows, but I was just determined to, get our house. So I forged forward, and I ended up taking a job at Golf Galaxy, which is owned by Dick's Sporting Goods.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of an interesting situation where I went in, you could maybe say that it's hard to say this, but where even the GM at the time said, "Why are you applying for this job?" Kind of like an overqualified situation. And I said, "Listen, the mortgage company doesn't really like when you don't have a pay stub coming in every 2 weeks." And this was clearly before I built my other stream of income, because that was a lesson there too. But anyway, so it all worked out. I actually ended up staying at Golf Galaxy for 4.5 years, teaching,
Awesome.
teaching, and just growing and continuing to get better every day. So, I always tell people now, like, it's okay to reinvent yourself. It's okay to not take the perfect dream role right away, and just keep getting better. When one door closes, obviously, try not to go back through that one, and go find another one, and keep going and going. So
Don't don't
anyway,
go
yeah.
through that one anymore. I like that one.
Yeah, long story short, it kind of went from a layoff to wanting to get out of golf to when I was at Golf Galaxy, actually was I'm a now 3-time nominee for Teacher of the Year down here, and I won it in 2022 when I was at Galaxy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, like I said, you got to keep pressing on. And now that's led to, like I said, being a director of instruction. There's only about 11 of them that we know of down in our area, like true, that's 100% of your day. Like, there's some
Huh?
teaching pros, but they may have other responsibilities, like go run the tournaments, to go do this. Like, so true, like, you're teaching, you're coaching all day. There's 11 of us down here. So for me to finally get into one of those roles is a very big deal for this area. And
My
it's been really good.
That's awesome. I think my cousin is a golf pro. I think in Jasmine. She Donna Fischelli. And she goes, yeah, it's hard. She goes, just doing it all day long. It kind of, for most people, it takes the fun of the sport away. Everybody loves golf, right? And then when you got to do it for a living, does it take the fun away from it?
Yeah, I think that's why, like we were talking about 28,000 pros, you would think there'd be more, but typically when you take something that is your hobby or your passion and turn it into your career, yeah, a lot of people, it does kind of kill it for them.
I
I
know
know
a
so
couple
many
of golf
pros that
pros.
don't even play anymore. They're like, the last thing I want to do after being at the course for working 50, 60 hours a week is go out and play, or even
Right.
touch a club. And unfortunately, I haven't gotten to that point yet, and nor do I think I will. I think once you break off and find your passion within the industry, like I did with the coaching, you don't get as worn down. But if you are in a position where you're doing things that, really don't motivate you, then it's difficult. And golf pros are definitely known for being very underpaid.
Mm,
The salaries are really hard to live on. So it's hard to get new pros coming in, because what's appealing about that to a kid in college? Like, hey, do you want to graduate, your X amount of dollars in debt, and then we'll pay you 16 bucks an hour to come hang out and answer
teach.
phones? They don't
Hang
even
out
get
and
to
answer
teach
phone.
right away.
Yeah, that's
They
true
gotta
too.
they gotta put their time in. So anyway.
So I noticed in that we've interviewed a couple um, people in the industry of golf, and one of my interviewers were interviewees was he made a nice golf program online, and he's knocking it out of the park with that. That is super cool how he does a lot. Instead of teaching just one or two people, he teaches the rest of the world. And that's super cool too, how they do that. There's a lot of competition in what you do. What comes easy to you? What's your gift that most people don't do?
A lot of feedback that I get from my students, I think that a lot of golf instructors get very, very technical. I mean, and you play golf, so you can understand that It's a really difficult sport because you almost can't think your way to a good golf swing. But then when you come in and, for example, pay somebody like myself, a golf instructor, we're going to fill your head with, 18 things. And you're like walking out of it like, okay, well, how am I supposed to get better? And so I've always just gone really back to basics, and I just don't overcomplicate things, I guess is the best way I can put it. I'm not a method teacher, meaning I'm not going to teach you to swing the same way as the next person that comes in. An analogy I've used with that with my students is if you go into a chiropractor's office and they're just going to adjust everybody the same way, right? Just snap, crackle, pop all day, the same thing, and they're not taking x-rays or they're not looking at you individually, that would be similar to someone who's a method teacher, meaning every single person they see in a day, I'm going to tell them the same thing. That's just not going to work. We're all different, right? Our body.
We're all totally
different. The way we
look
learn,
similar.
like the way we learn is even different too, right? I mean, every golf pro, if any golf pros listen to this podcast, they'll agree. I mean, we're all trying to say the same thing, but sometimes you need to hear it a different way or see it a different way for it to ever make sense. It's not that some people in the past maybe haven't had good golf instruction or bad golf instruction, but it's just you got to find someone who can deliver the information. So I guess what I'm getting at, kind of long-winded here, sorry, but you just have to be able to read people, I guess is the way I would say it. I think I understand people, I understand their learning style right away, so then I can figure out, okay, this is going to make more sense to them. They're more of a visual learner. I need to actually physically put them into a position or things like that. Like I can tell when something's not making sense, and then you need to rephrase it, right? You got to go back. Like we could be doing one goal with you, for example, if you were in a lesson with me, but I might have to say it 6 different ways until all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's the one, I get it.
Yeah.
But you could have other coaches where they only say it one way and that's all they know, and then they just get frustrated if you don't get it, right? They say, why can't you do this? Why can't you do what I'm asking you to do?
Well, I understand that a little bit differently, and I've learned it as a teacher. I'm a martial arts instructor too, and I think there's 4 or 5 different ways to learn. There's kinesthetic, pushing someone's hands around. There's reading. There's verbal, talking to them, and there's in what I've learned about teachers is, and learned about myself as a teacher, is you have a teaching style and you also have a learning style.
Mm-hmm.
What if your teaching style doesn't jive with your students' learning style? So now you have to learn to teach differently. Does that make sense? You got to teach not the way you like to teach. And once I learned that and found the student's learning style, and it all becomes easier. I think that's what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll never forget reading that in a book. And the teaching and learning style is, and the worst part is it's different for me. Like I visually, if I look at something, I can do it. But I teach people kinesthetically. Like I move their hand up, do this and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were to just, and I never show them visually, like I could just show them how to do it. And so it's the human are very interesting people. And knowing yourself is probably the biggest thing.
I'm like the reverse of you if I was in your martial arts class. Like,
well, it's the same thing with just teaching.
I would need you to just move me into those positions and I'd be good. I couldn't just watch you and figure it out.
Your kinesthetic learning, and what's your teaching style?
And so that's what's interesting. Yeah, my teaching style is opposite. Mostly, I will physically move someone when they tell me, "Hey, that's what I need," or "That's how I learn." But yeah, I'm more just visual, verbal.
Visual, verbal. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would suggest to you that when you teach, just find out the learning style before you start. Which way do you learn best? And if someone says out of a book, like. I got nothing here.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to go write a book. That's a good idea.
There you go.
Just in case.
There you go. If someone wants that listening to the show wants to get better at what you do, what suggestion would you give them, and what tips and tricks would you give them?
It's probably true for most industries, I would say. You can let me know about yours, but I think it's all about mentorship and kind of your circle of influence. I think that coming up, I've always been fortunate because I've always had really, really good mentors that have kind of taken me under their wing and luckily led me in really good directions and people to bounce ideas off of. And I think on the circle of influence part, that's just, I forget who the quote is from, but they say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think that's really true. So you need to be careful who you are investing your valuable time with,
The
depending on what goals you're trying to get to. So
your time is the most valuable asset. As I get older, I learn that more and more and more and more.
yeah, and I think so. It's, yeah, mentorship, circle of influence, and then I am just always learning. Always, I'm still a sponge. I don't care how many awards anybody's going to win or what you've achieved. I go to all the teaching symposiums. I go to all the personal and professional development classes, and I love it. And
Yeah.
you constantly have to do that. You have to constantly be better.
No, you don't. There's people that don't. And
For sure.
that's and it's and you one if you don't learn, you're going to stay in the same spot you are, which for most people is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I like what you said, mentorship and your circle of influence. Those are probably the most important things. I agree with you 100%. I think we touched on this, but what is one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome in your career?
Yeah, the biggest challenge was definitely going through a layoff. I think it's interesting when in the golf industry, also being a female, there's not very many female pros. I think of the 28,000 we referenced, I think we're about 1,400 now, 1,600.
Wow,
Don't hold
that's
me true to
10%.
those. Yeah, don't hold me true to those numbers because I haven't looked in a while, but it's very low, right? So we're in a man's world. So I think that's always been difficult. I think just the whole 13 years I've been in this game, but then to go through you're so valuable to an operation or a club or an outfit as one of these, you know, less than 10% of the PGA Pro population. So to then get kicked so far down of like, hey, we're just going to lay you off, fire you, furlough you, whatever. Again, that was difficult.
And I could only imagine. Well, I'm glad you stuck with it. And you didn't
Mhm.
have your PGA status. I was interviewing somebody else, and they were telling me how difficult it is to get your PGA status. I'm glad you stuck with it. That's fortitude, which that is amazing. Congratulations. And there's 28,000 of those in the United States, right?
Right. Hmm.
Wow.
And like I
Wow,
said,
that's
not
great.
not not very many of us gals are out there in it either. So
So 10%,
I
right?
hope I can get somebody who loves golf out there to listen to
Oh,
this and either become a pro or even get more people in the industry or especially females. It's awesome. It's fun.
like I said, my cousin Donna Fischelli's a golf pro, and she said exactly the same thing. And she's a good teacher too. She actually wanted to go on the pro circuit. Tried to coach
Nice.
her into that. Sounds like things are going pretty well for you in your business, and looking forward to the future and wondering, what have you ever done? Or we talked a little bit about off screen about creating passive income.
Yeah, I wish I would have listened to, this is going to sound really cliche, listened to my mom a long time ago. She's one of the top, direct selling network marketers in our company, and it probably made her pull her hair out every time. But when you're in your 20s, guess what? You're invincible,
It's your
right?
job. It's your job to
Yeah, it's her
drive your
job.
mom crazy.
So, she'd always talk about it, right? Dig the well before you need it. You're gonna need more money, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And we were always like, yeah, yeah, whatever. Sure, sure, sure. You're doing great, but that's not for us, right? And just
Right.
completely closed-minded to it, basically for all of my 20s and into some of my 30s. So, my husband and I have a now 2-year-old.
Oh,
So,
congratulations.
thank you. And it was not until she was born that I was out on a walk with her one day, pushing her around the neighborhood and kind of listening to, like motivational podcasts, gratitude, right? All that fun stuff.
Good.
And this like light bulb went off. I was like, "Oh my God. I really should have been uh doing this for the last 13 years." That's actually, I've been in golf 13 years. My mom has been in her company for 13 years. That was on top of both of my parents having a successful insurance agency, so it's interesting to hear her always talk about where she's at. It's like, well, we had a multi-million dollar business. We didn't need to start another one or have this passive income, but obviously it's a really good business model. But anyway, so I have been building passive income through direct selling, but luckily for me, it became pretty natural because as a teacher and a coach, and everyone's kind of leaning on you for, to make them a better golfer. Sometimes you need to hit that from another angle. So it is a health and wellness company that, aligns with products I've been taking for 13 years. I just never was understanding to share that and make extra money until a couple years ago. But now it's kind of this whole brand, I guess I would say. It's all
Nice.
just kind of weaving itself together. Of
What's the
like,
name of the brand?
well, my LLC is Biohack Birdies, so I don't know if there's any biohackers that listen to this. Biohack your body, and so I just went with Biohack Birdies to tie into golf. But the company is Life Vantage with the health and wellness products. So,
And what
but
do you
anyway,
sell there?
they have they have a full line of products, and they're into activation versus supplementing. Right, most of us, if we kind of go into our cupboard in the morning, we're taking vitamins or supplements, but these actually can kind of turn on your body's ability to produce what it needs, right? Versus just putting random, supplements into us that aren't really going to
Well,
do anything.
well, the supplements, from what I've learned of the supplements, I'm not a dietitian or expert in any way, shape, or form. Is that if you take supplements, you're gonna have to keep taking supplements. What you're saying, the biohacking is to turn on the ability to metabolize in your food the supplements and put them into what you need. Yeah, that is interesting. That is very interesting. And
Yeah, it's kind of nice because your own antioxidants that you can produce are so much more powerful than what we can get from food. So,
agreed.
one of our flagship products, what got me is like once you start taking it, well, now I'm producing like 1,000,000 to 1 of my own antioxidants versus I'd have to eat like 360 oranges in a day to even try to come close to that, right? And nobody's going to be able to do that.
Well, plus your body's doing it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and I think what got me too. So I teach, like, just numbers wise, I teach a little over 1,000 lessons a year. If we just go on private lessons, that doesn't include golf schools, clinics, course stuff like that. But there there's rarely ever a time where someone is not in front of me describing a problem that has to do with what my products help with, right? If it's joint pain, if it's fatigue, if it's, people like, this is the era we live in. People just feel like crap all the time, you know? And then when we just say, all right, well, if you just take this, it kicks your body back into gear. Like, your body knows what to do. It's just from aging and stress and all that, it gets shut down. So we're just
I agree wholeheartedly. Diet and exercise is the
activating.
biggest problem.
Yeah. So it's been pretty cool. And like, I honestly think I wouldn't be where I am today without having joined that. Cause like I said, that when you get into direct selling, there is a lot of personal growth that comes along with that. And so that's helped in my golf career as well. So it's good that everything ties in and kind of gives me a good full circle, you know,
Yeah,
professional
I
development, personal development. But yeah, definitely needed motherhood to kickstart that, though, I will be honest.
well, I've noticed in my life, I'm a little bit older than you, that when the time is right, there's an old saying in martial arts that the master will appear when the student is ready. So when you're ready to do what you're supposed to do, then it'll pop up. That's what I've noticed most of my life.
Hmm.
So like you
That's
said, it
true.
took motherhood for you to figure it out, something bigger than yourself.
Hmm.
Awesome.
But now I just realize how important it is, because when you're providing a service, and I don't know why I always go back to chiropractors for my for my analogies as golf pros, chiros, whatever. But we physically need to be able to show up and provide our service. Otherwise, we are not going to make money. And I
Hmm.
think once more people realize that, then you do realize that you do need to create some passive income, however that works for you. Because God forbid if something were to happen to me where I can't show up and teach golf lessons. Now, going back to what you had said about the online space, that's a huge goal of mine in the next couple of years, because that is an awesome market to tap into to do virtual lessons. But
Hmm.
still, I would need to be, again, show trade, like, once you understand, if you're trading your time for money, you're not creating leveraged income. Okay, I got to show up here and teach my lessons, or I'm not getting paid.
Exactly.
And I would
So,
still have to show up online to do that too. I'd have to edit their videos, I'd have to send them back. So to your point, it's so important to understand that you need something else, because life is incredibly unpredictable, and at some point you're going to need to lean on leveraged and passive income coming your way. And it doesn't just come out of thin air, it comes out of some pretty hard work. So people listening to this, start building it now before you really need it.
in your 20s, like you were telling me,
I should have,
passive,
yeah.
if you don't create passive income, you'll be working for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So that is really the key. And that's what we do in our industry. We love showing people how to create passive income. Um, and I just heard this new saying, and I hope I can say it correctly. Money makes more on money than you do on labor.
Mm-hmm.
Once I thought about that, it's true. Like, you're supposed to, everybody's supposed to work hard, make money, then you put it aside. You're not supposed to leave it aside. You're supposed to let that money make money for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that can make more because it makes more for you 24/7 versus you 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
agree with you wholeheartedly.
I will certainly, while I'm ever physically able to, will never stop showing up for golf lessons. Though, I mean, there's some pretty cool things and ways you can impact people in the community through golf.
Oh, easy, yeah.
There's a program that we ran here called PGA Hope, which stands for Helping Our Patriots Everywhere. So the PGA of America puts that on, and as a veteran, whether you're active or retired from the military, it's a completely complimentary program.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
so 6 weeks in a row of instruction, 2 hours each. They come to the class, and at the last week we get to go on the golf course, and then we have food and an award ceremony. So that was definitely one of the coolest things to do. And the PGA of America has a memorandum with the VA. So in certain areas, like a vet can be essentially prescribed this, if you will, for their PTSD or whatever they have going on as treatment.
That's awesome.
Because golf can take their mind off of thinking about, obviously, any horrible events that they have encountered, even if it's for 2 hours a week, and gives them kind of an outlet. So that was pretty cool. And then some good friends of mine, again, it's all about your circle of influence and your mentorship. They discovered this program called Path to Freedom, which is a charitable organization local here in Southwest Florida that rescues young girls from human trafficking and gives them a safe house. And so they partnered with that program, and we've been able to teach those girls how to play golf as well. And again, just giving them an outlet. It's part of their therapy.
Nice.
So
Very nice.
where things like a lot of golfers, you and I might take for granted, like, oh, it's just golf. And sometimes we go out and get frustrated and whatever. I had never thought of it that way until recently, about how for others, it can be a complete safe space and just outlet and something to take their mind off things. So it's been pretty cool.
Well, I must admit that I have broken a few clubs over a few trees. So I knew myself back in the day.
I'm sure not on purpose. No.
No, it was 100% on purpose.
Okay.
Then back to knowing yourself as you know your opponent, you need not fear 100 battles. I had these fiberglass clubs, and I would just hook this ball, slice the ball like you wouldn't believe. And I knew I was so cheap, I wouldn't get new clubs until these were broken. So I broke a couple and then said, no, I got to go get new clubs. And it was a night and day difference. I don't know how some people can use those graphite shafts. I could not. It just wasn't in the stars for me. Well, listen, real quick, wrapping up, wondering, what do you got? What's your big plans for the next 6 to 12 months? I think we touched on it a little bit. So what do you got? What's your next thing for the next period of this golf adventure?
Yeah, what's interesting, I'm in summertime now, which is basically here our time to kind of breathe and get ready for the next season. The snowbirds will come back in October. So prepping for next year, I had a very successful first year at Heritage Palms, but want to, of course, continue to get bigger and better. So prep work for that. And, it's interesting having multiple businesses. I think that when you value one more than the other, obviously that's the one that's thriving. So I know it sounds odd, but I mean, maybe shifting back and trying to nurture the LifeVantage business a little bit more in the next 6 months.
I would recommend it if you got time.
While I have time, and definitly have some big plans with that for the next 6 to 12 months. So yeah. Just awesome. Nurturing all that, and then meanwhile trying to keep my game up so I can get out there. I have a big tournament coming up in a few weeks, and then keeping up with our 2-year-old. So there's always something fun going on.
You're busy.
Life is good. Yeah.
You're busy. Well, listen, thanks very much for your time today. We do appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your insights. And if anybody would like to connect with you, how would they do that?
They can connect. My Facebook is public. First name Kristine, last name Bonham. Kristine Bonham _PGA for Instagram. I would appreciate my golfers to follow me because I do try to post some really good tips.
Awesome.
Yeah, right. But the scariest thing someone says in a lesson is, "Hey, I watched this YouTube video."
And it's probably not for them, right?
Yeah, so I try to put some good stuff out there.
Awesome.
So yeah, you got it.
Thank you very much for being on the show. We really do appreciate it. If you guys would like to, hit up Kristine. She's knocking it out of the park with golf. Thanks a lot for being on the show, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.